Hi, and congratulations for making it to Chapter 5 of the Complete iOS Developer course. We've covered a huge amount so far. You've looked at the Xcode interface and found out how to drag in elements like labels and buttons and use them in your apps. We've also had a fairly deep dive into Swift as a language and looked at variables, arrays, dictionaries, as well as programming constructs like for loops, while loops, and we've made a couple of apps as part of that as well. So give yourself a pat on the back, but get ready to learn more, because we're now going to jump back into Xcode and we're going to look very much at practical things that you'll want to use in your apps. So we'll be looking at adding multiple screens to apps and being able to navigate between them. We'll find out about tables and how important they are when showing users content. We'll find out how to store data permanently in your app, even when the user closes it down. And finally, we'll see how to download live content from the web and display that to the user. So I hope that's got your curiosity piqued. Let's now jump back into Xcode and find out how to add something pretty central to apps, that is navigation bars. So I'm going to use Command Space and Xcode, and there it is. Double click to load it up, and we're going to start a new project. So File, New Project, and it will have the same properties that we usually have. So we'll start with a single view application. I'm going to call this Navigation Bars, and I'm just going to save it right there on the desktop. Okay, here we go. We're all about main storyboard in this particular video because we're looking very much at layout. Okay, so let's just sort our view controller about so that we can see it nicely. We'll go for 4-inch. There we go. Now our navigation bars normally go at the top, so we're going to start by dragging one there. As you can imagine, if we search for navigation, then our navigation bar appears. If you can't see that, make sure you've got the square in a circle selected so that you get the right set of objects. And then it's just a matter of dragging the navigation bar in, and you can position it wherever you like. We'll go for the nice blue lines at the top. There we go. So now we have our navigation bar, and we can put a title on it. So I'll just call it Navigation App for the moment. Okay, you're going to want to put some buttons usually on either side of the navigation bar is where they normally go, and we get those in bar button items. So you can just search for button or bar button, and then you just drag those. Let's drag one to the left there. So we've got item. So you can see that we can change the name for it here, but normally we want an icon here, and we can use one of the default ones just by selecting it there. And then that'll show a nice icon that will presumably do something when the user taps on it. We can, of course, choose another one on the right and set that to a different icon. Now, let's go for something different. There we go. So let's take a look and see how that actually looks in our app. I'll choose an iPhone 5 and then Command R or the play button to run the app, and let's take a look and see how this looks. And there it is. Looks great. Very nice and clean, easy to design. You might be thinking, what happens when we make this landscape? The answer is, unfortunately, it doesn't look exactly as we would want. So we do need to do a little bit of auto layout just to make that work on landscape. So let's do that now. In fact, I'll set this as a little challenge for you. So can you use the auto layout skills that we learned a couple of videos ago and apply those to the navigation bar here so that it looks good in portrait and landscape? Good luck. I hope you managed it. As always, there's a few ways to do it. The way I'm going to go for is clicking on constraints down here, and then I'm just going to select those 3 constraints. And what that will do is it will link or fix the navigation bar to the left-hand side of its containing item, which is the view controller, the whole screen in this case, and fix it to the right as well, and it will fix it to the top. So it will give that nice gap at the top of the screen, if of course you want that. I'm not going to fix it to the bottom because that will be different whether we're in landscape or portrait. And I don't want to fix the width or height, I want to make those variable. So let's add those 3 constraints. And now let's run the app again. And we should find that when we rotate it, it now stretches nicely to the edge of the screen. Here we go. Lovely. Excellent. So that's how you get your navigation bars to stretch nicely and look good in both landscape and portrait. Very simple. While we're here, we'll just see how to add a navigation to the bottom of the screen. It's a very similar process. So to add a bar to the bottom, we probably don't want a navigation bar because this will give us a title and all the stuff that you would expect to have at the top. So what we're more likely to need, if we search for just bar, is a toolbar. So this is what is designed to go at the bottom of the screen. So again, if we just drag that in, lovely. And a very quick mini challenge for you. Can you make that so that it will display nicely in both landscape and portrait? Pretty straightforward, I hope. Let's just select that and fix the constraints. Great, we'll check that in a minute. But I want to show you how to add items. You get one item free, as it were. One button free with your toolbar. If you try and drag another one in, this time, if say I want to have it on the right, that doesn't happen by default. The default is to just set them up so they're all next to each other. So let's just get rid of that by pressing delete or Command Z to undo. So the easiest way to get one on the left and one on the right is to bring in a flexible space bar button item, which will give you a nice automatic gap between your bar buttons. So let's now bring this one in here, and there we go. So now we've got one on the left and one on the right. So just to convince ourselves that everything is working and it will look exactly as we want it to, we'll just run this and take a quick look. Here we go. So you can see we've got our nice bar at the top and a very similar looking one at the bottom. And if we rotate, both of them stretch out really nicely using auto layout. Fantastic. So that's how you add navigation bars to the top and bottom of your apps. In the next video, we're going to use this layout to create a quite nifty stopwatch app. I'll see you there.